It is the conflict and their exposure to our conflict that is the most harmful to them and most damaging to them. Let's take care of our kids through this process. Thank you for having me here today. If you are here today, you are either a parent going through divorce or separation, or you're accompanying someone who is going through divorce or separation. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how we take care of your children through this process. It really isn't, no offense, it really isn't about you or the other parent. It's about your kids. As an evaluator for the court for the past 20 years, I have to determine what is in the best interest of your children. There's 9 items total in the statute, 9 items that we look at in conducting an evaluation. But the 3 that are most important to me, I want to cover with you today. And the first is your ability to place the needs of your child above your own. If you can't put your kids' needs above your own, as an evaluator, you and I are going to have problems. It's got to be about your children. We've got to take care of them during this process and through this process. And an example I have there is I had a dad recently who was not available in the evenings, and the children did not get along with his wife. But he did not want to leave the children with their mother. He wanted his parenting time, and he wanted to leave them with his wife. They didn't get along well at all, and the kids were really struggling. So I asked the court to have mother be able to have the children when father's out of town working. He would get home, he would either stay gone overnight, or he would get home about 11 o'clock and be gone again about 5 the next morning. So he wasn't seeing them at all. But he would not give up his parenting time. So I asked the court to allow mother to have the children when father was gone, and the court did that. But it's an example of a parent who couldn't see what was best for his children or couldn't place their needs above his own. In that process, he ended up losing a significant amount of his parenting time, more than what she was suggesting that he would lose, just because of the fact that he wasn't willing to work with her and able to place their needs first. Another factor that is really important to me, in fact, this one is probably most important to me as an evaluator, and that is your ability to foster the sharing of love, affection, and time spent with the other parent. If you can't do that, again, you and I are going to have a problem. The children derive their identity, especially when they're very young, from both parents. When they're 3, 4, 5, 6, they don't have an identity of their own, and they derive their identity from both of their parents. When you put down one of their parents, you're putting down the child. It affects their self-esteem. It makes them feel negatively about themselves. And I see a lot of heads nodding. If there are issues with that parent, because a lot of parents will come in and say, yeah, but dad's got a drinking problem, mom's got an anger issue. If there's problems, we'll deal with them. I have found over the years, though, that our children don't know how to do this on their own. They don't know how to be in 2 households, love 2 parents, not feel that stress on their own. We have to teach them how to do that. One of the stories I often tell is about my own son, because I'm one of you guys. I went through this. I lived what you're living. And when my son was about 11, he came home for about the 3rd or 4th time, and he said, Mom, my dad does such and such. I don't remember now what it was, and it really bothers me. Let's talk to your dad about that. My son said, oh, I can't do that. He'll get mad. And I said, you know, I really don't think he will. Let's give him a call and see. So I put my son on one phone. I got on the other extension, and we called his dad. Now, before I tell you the story, you have to have a relatively good working relationship with the other parent before you do what I'm about to tell you that we did. But I called his dad, and I said, Aaron has an issue he wants to talk to you about. Now, these were the key words. I assured him you're not going to get upset, that he couldn't. Well, I suppose he could, but that made it awfully difficult for him to get upset. And my son was on the other extension, and I hung up. And about 10 minutes later, my son came out and he said, "Wow, Mom, he didn't get mad at all." And I said, "Well, I didn't think he would." But we have to teach them as children how to do that. They don't know how to do that. Lastly, children a lot of times want to be in the middle of their parents' conflict, believe it or not. I know that's hard to believe, but sometimes they are so used to being in the middle of the conflict that they want to be there. They're used to being there. It's comfortable to be there. And the story that I share here is I had an 11-year-old girl many years ago. This was many years ago. And she had twin younger sisters. And she would often take care of her sisters for the parents. She had become parentified and would take care of them. But more importantly, she was taking care of her parents. Both parents were engaging in behaviors they shouldn't have been. Dad was having affairs. Mom was going out with her friends and drinking. But both of them used their daughter as their confidant. And you wouldn't believe how much parents do that during this time, especially if they have children that are a little bit older, that are 11 or 12 or teenagers. And this girl had heard everything, and she was used to hearing it all. And I talked to the parents and I said, "Your daughter is not in a good place. I really need you guys to quit sharing everything with her." Well, the parents were on board. The person who wasn't on board was the kid. So we brought her in. I've got Mom, Dad, me, 11-year-old. And she was sitting across from me. And I said, "I've talked to your mom and dad, and they're not going to share everything with you anymore about their divorce and about what they're doing." And she wasn't happy. She grabbed hold of the arms of the chair and leaned over and she said, "But I need to know what's going on with my parents. I need to know." And I said, "No, you don't. Look at you. You need to be a kid. You need to worry about who you're going to ride bikes with when you get home." Well, she wasn't happy with me that day. And I have trouble telling this story. I'm going to warn you up front. But 5 years later, she walked in my office and she said, "Do you remember me?" I knew her the minute she walked in. I said, "Yes, I remember you." And she said, "You worked with my family many years ago." And I said, "Yes, I remember." She said, "You know, I hated you back then." I said, "Yes, I know that too." She said, "But I want to thank you because you were the only person who let me be a kid." We have to let them be kids. Even if they want to be in the middle of our conflict, even if they want to hear all the details, we can't allow that. We have to let them be kids. My closing thought to you today, if I leave you with one thought, it would be this. You know, we as divorcing parents fight about a lot of things. We fight about exchange location and what time we're going to exchange and whether we're going to exchange on Christmas evening or Christmas morning. All those types of things. Whether we're both going to go to the doctor's appointment or just one. Or we're going to have parent-teacher conference together or separate. We fight about all those kind of things. What we fail to realize is it is the conflict and their exposure to our conflict that is the most harmful to them and most damaging to them. So before you fight about everything, keep in mind that it's the exposure to our conflict that has the greatest potential for harm to our children. Thank you for being here today. I know you all know how to do this and do it well. So good luck to you moving forward. Thank you.